morning.
How are
Oh,
you?
how are you? You all dolled up?
I got a funeral.
Oh, Lord.
Remember, there's another funeral. There were two this week. I have another one today.
Uh,
Immediately following the Saturday morning tea. But how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm
Okay,
fine. I'm
okay,
doing good. Yeah.
okay. Look, I'm checking. I'm
Yeah.
checking. Good, good, good. How was your week?
It's been
Uh-oh.
busy. Yesterday, I had two phone screens and an interview. This is a lot. I'm just so over it. I'm telling you, like, we always talk about being, you always talk about being a certified marketable medical coder. But
Right.
man, when I tell you these people, I don't know what they're looking for. But I tell you who they're not looking for. They're not looking for me.
Like they ain't looking for you at all. They ain't checking for you at all. I don't understand. It's so disappointing. We've talked about this before. Like you hear all of this, you know, vacancies. We need people. We can't find people. We can't whatever. But do you really? I'm really starting to question now for real. Do you really? Do you really? And be real. How about be real and be specific and be real about what it is that you want and don't want. Like really, you don't really want you want the people with experience, but you really don't want to pay the people with experience. You want
And you don't want to,
you want their
right.
knowledge, you want their whatever, but you don't want to give them the positions and salaries and benefits and all of the things that they deserve, that they earn, that they would bring to the table for your organization. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say the same thing. Like it's just, it's just an interesting time period all
Oh, that
across
it
the
is.
board.
That it is. It is an interesting time to be alive, ain't
Yeah,
it?
you just have to, like
I,
everything else. You have to just stay focused and stay diligent.
absolutely, absolutely. And focus, I think, is my. I haven't done my daughter and I do a kind of a vision board party with a Zoom thing every year. We haven't done it yet. Electronically, where we go out and create our vision boards. Like we'll go in different rooms and then we'll set it up and then we'll display and show and talk about and all of the things. And I think focus is really it. Like, just get rid of the noise. It's so noisy. I feel like
Yes,
it's so
yes,
noisy everywhere. And it's like, turn it off. Just, I feel like Teddy Pendergrass. Turn them
yes.
off. Oh, God. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad everything else went okay with you this week. And we keep shining. We keep shining. It's
Oh,
gonna be all
exactly.
right. It's
Look,
gonna be all right.
I
Hey,
tell you,
hey.
I'm so thankful for my look. People don't even use little anymore, but I'm so thankful for my little LLC. That's all I can say.
Sir, sir. And that's the thing, yeah. I was I've been watching this series. One of my friends turned me on to some series that I've been binge watching on Netflix. And it's an ageism thing because she couldn't find a job. Um, she was in her 40s and couldn't find a job in her career. And what she ultimately, and she had a daughter in college, and she was like, I got to do something. I got to, support my child, all of the things. And so she lied about her age to get a job. And I mean, was the star, like just bonus, not necessarily, but promotions and accolades and all of the things. But then she felt some kind of way too because she had been lying about her age, and eventually, it came out. But it was really eye-opening to me just to know that we got options, and we don't have to play these games if we don't want to. If you set yourself up, and I'm really talking to my young folks out there too, and some of the older ones too, but you young folks, you got time. You got some time to set yourself up now for to get out of the foolishness. Like, really?
Now,
Now. Set yourself up. Do what you can and need to do in order to not have to deal with the foolishness. Because there's some foolishness out here in these um, uh, business streets. I'll say that. In these corporate streets, there's some foolishness out here. Like, did you just say what I think you just said? Did you just do what I think you just said? Like, is this what we doing? But let's get on with the business of today, shall we? Look, I can talk for hours and hours and hours. So welcome to our Saturday morning tea. And here we brew up the hottest topics in healthcare. We discuss health information, news, education, this crazy rat race of employment and interviews and all of the things. Is it real? Is it not? Who they checking for and who they're not checking for? um, Certification tips, entrepreneurship, all of the things, and primarily the revenue cycle, anything related that touches the revenue cycle at large. And so as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and or like button. I'm Clarice Warner. I'm the girl with the pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle and regulatory compliance and education. Now, let me ask you, do you know what it takes to be a certified marketable medical coder? Even though they might not really be checking for you, but do you know what it takes to be one? Well, before I introduce my co-host, let me share with you information on a free email course on the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. Hey, let me tell you, I was over here playing around in my little StreamYard playground, and it's the song out here. When I tell you, I need to find out who made this little song because it was everything for me. I was just feeling it. All I could.
good.
I was like, wait a minute, I could do some things with that. I was like, instead of scrolling, clearly you see I be playing around with music. Like, wait a minute, that could be something. I hear that in somebody's tune, somebody's something. But anyway, if you're interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder, then check out the video description for the link. So joining me today is my partner in success, my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect on his name, especially when you checking for him. The coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia. Been in healthcare for a long time. In 2014, I left the bedside and went into risk adjustment. That was my first foray into HIM. And during the pandemic in 2020, I created a company, the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other people in healthcare with a clinical background transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
And how is that going?
It's coming along. It's coming along. I'm halfway through one class, and I'm starting another class next Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Look at you. Look at you. Ooh, yes. You said your little LLC. Your little LLC is not little. It's not little. All right. All right. Let's see. I know we have people in here. I saw some folks. Good morning to our on the
Hmm.
street correspondent, the crafty coder. Good morning. Good morning, Tanika. Good morning. Yes, stay focused and diligent. Absolutely, absolutely. Those will be uh, the words for 2025. For real, for real. Put your head down above below the noise. Get out the way. Get out the way. All righty. Well, before we jump in, let me remind you that you can join in and add to the conversation. So don't be shy. Your opinion matters and is welcomed here. So, friends, use the chat. Use the chat. Chat away. But if you have a question for us, the only thing that we ask is you put a Q first so that we know it's an actual question for us and not you all talking amongst yourselves and we don't miss it. So, for those who are joining us or watching the replay, today we are talking Medicare's 2025 overhaul, AI audits, and the 60-day refund changes. Every day is something else. I just every day. But first, let's get into our church announcements, shall we? Let's get into our church announcements. Hey, 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 hey. Brum, brum, brum. Hey, hey. But double clap. All of the things. All right. Good morning, Roxanne. Welcome. All right. So, Mr. Jesse already spilled one of his first announcements. I'll definitely let you mention that again. Let's see. What did I find? Oh, so effective April 1st, 2025, there will be 50 new PCS procedure codes. They have been released on the CMS website, and they also have their MSDRG numbers associated with them also released. And they run the gamut. So there's some transplantation of larynx codes. There are a couple of those. Transfer small intestine to vagina, and I'm trying to figure that out in my head, but there's a couple of those. Kidney is a big thing. There's some resection of both the right and left kidney procedures that are changing, and it's they're all within the open approach, but it's just using I guess different materials. There is dilatation of the cervix. There's an extraction of products of conception retained with an open approach. There's a lot of orthopedic procedures, repositioning of the humeral shaft, both right and left, repositioning of the radius, both right and left, repositioning of the ulna, again, both right and left, repositioning of the upper and lower femur, right and left, and the femoral shaft, both right and left, the tibia, both right and left.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of ortho stuff happening. And then there's some introduction of all kinds of those injections, or not necessarily injections, those drugs that in an ab. So it's a whole bunch of those. It's several of those. And then there's a
it's irrigation.
measurement of a
It's irrigation. You were talking about the drug?
Okay. There's like tarlatamab,
Okay.
inap Lumab, all of them ones with the mab at the end of the drug name. And then there's a measurement of immune response, whole blood cellular assessment via microfluidic deformability, new technology group 10. So again, there are 50 new codes coming down the pike for April 1st. And then I went to check on there isn't anything yet, or I haven't seen anything listed for diagnosis codes, and the guidelines may be changing as well because they were removed. So there may be some additional guideline changes coming down the pike too. So as those things happen, more information. You say come through ortho. Right. Question, I saw a courses. Mr. Jesse?
I don't know. Roxanne, can you restate it? Because I'm not understanding what you're asking.
I don't either. But now will be the time where you can mention your course that you're starting next week if it's still open to people who may be interested. Sir, I'm trying to segue right on in.
So I have an ICD-10 CM course starting on Wednesday, February 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern. This class will be a Monday, Wednesday cycle, and it's 8 weeks.
Okay. All right.
And for more information, visit thecodingnurse.com.
All righty. Love it. All right. So today, again, let the tea spilling begin. So today we're diving into some changes. And I'm nervous because, one day we get stuff and things are on, and then another day we hear stuff and things may not necessarily be on like we thought. So you never know what is happening in the world of American healthcare due to government changes. But as far as I know for now, there's been some changes. So pour yourself a cup and let's start with the 60-day refund rule that folks really need to pay attention. I remember when this came out way back and it was a big thing then, but now there are some new things that are coming down the pipe. So CMS, or the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, if you're not aware, is interpreting the 60-day refund rule for Medicare Parts A and B, which is traditional Medicare, and C and D, which is Medicare Advantage, and also for the prescription drug plans. And all of this was established by the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. So the final rule actually became effective a month ago, January 1st, 2025. And if you didn't get through all of the pages of of the 2025 physician fee schedule, it was in there. Because when I tell you, it was that document was thick. It was thick. It was like you could have broken it up in several novels. Thick. But the information was there, and so I peeped this article from I like to call her a friend, Rose Dunn, who talked about, she wrote an article in MedLearn Publishing titled Coders Beware. And she talks about the newly updated overpayment refund rule. So when I saw that, I did some digging and did some checking and said, well, let's see what this is all about. Because I remember folks was up in arms. So what it actually means, again, is CMS is completely revamping how we handle Medicare overpayments. So the definition of identified overpayment now aligns with the False Claims Act terminology. So you no longer have the luxury of fully quantifying before the clock starts ticking. And so let me tell you what that means. So back in the day, let me get rid of the banner. Back in the day, you kind of had some wiggle room, or organizations like to believe that they had some wiggle room Roxanne, I'll get to you in a minute.
Mhm.
It, it was if you identified an overpayment, so you doing your own internal due diligence or auditing or what have you, noticed, hey, this is an overpayment. Um, and in some circles, if you dug a little deeper and saw that there may, quote unquote, be a problem, before you had to make that overpayment, you got some time to kind of make sure and quantify and double check and, all of the things. And that quantification period was kind of a grace period before the clock starts ticking. So once you fully identified that, yes, this is an overpayment, um, until you actually put the 10 toes in the sand, then that's when the clock starts ticking. And so you had so many days that you had to then notify that a repayment may be in your future. So what this new rule is saying is that you no longer have the luxury of fully quantifying before the clock starts ticking. The moment you know there's an overpayment, that clock starts running. So you don't get that, oh, wait, let me double check. Let me make sure. Let me know. When you see, we need to pay this back. CMS is now saying that that's when things starts happening, and you need to uh, some check sent. This applies to both traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage. So think about it like this. If you spot an incorrect payment today, you can't wait until you've counted every penny to start the process. You have to then begin the process of um, repayment. So your timeline is where it gets interesting. So CMS has created a 2-track system. Track 1 is the basic 90-day rule. So you identify, report, and return. Then you have what's track 2, and this is the 180-day investigation period for related overpayments. So what this looks like is, imagine you discover an incorrect billing code was used for a specific procedure. You have 60 days to handle that specific issue. But what if you suspect this might have happened with other similar procedures? So that's where the 80 days come into play. So you then begin this 180-day investigation period. And as with all things, documentation, there are documentation requirements, and documentation is your lifeline under these new rules. So you need dated records of when the overpayments are discovered. You need a clear timeline of investigation steps, evidence of all resource allocation, documentation of team communications, records of any partial refunds made, proof of corrective actions taken. So all of that should be part of the whole overpayment process that is taken within your organization. So, and Mr. Jesse, you could jump in at any time. We can talk about some practical steps. So again, you need to create a dedicated overpayment response team. I know back in the day, in our compliance world, we actually had that. So if there was something that was identified, there were certain people that needed to be notified immediately to verify and validate all of the things. Now I know, and that was back before this new rule has taken effect. So that immediately is going to be even quicker, because as it mentions, you don't have the time now to kind of process and double check and look. Once you identify, you need to be about the business. You have 60 days to make sure that overpayment is refunded. The crazy part is, you would hope, you would wonder, well, if CMS wants us to make sure that we're doing our overpayment in 60 days, shouldn't they be doing the same thing when they find an overpayment for us? That's a whole other conversation, right?
Facts.
It's not reciprocal at all.
I
Also, when you create kind of a dedicated overpayment response team, you also need to establish clear communication channels so folks know who needs to talk to whom, and what their role in this response team is and how they assist with any investigation um, for these overpayments. You should also set up automatic tracking systems and then also create documentation protocols. So, unfortunately, you need some protocols, some policies, some procedures on how this needs to happen. So, just want to give again the heads up that that little grace period time that providers used to have to quantify the overpayments before recognizing that it is a true overpayment or you have identified an overpayment is going away.
Now, my
um,
only question is,
uh-huh.
how is the government going to be able to prove that they knew at a certain time to
You know,
enforce?
folks be talking because all you got to do is we need the emails, we need the information. They can go back and ask for
Okay.
documentation if it came down to that. But I think in good faith, they're hoping that folks will do the right thing and once identified, submit those over. Again, to me, be the change that you want to see. If you want to see other folks do that, then you should do that too, right? At least I would think. But who am I? I just the bearer of the news, right?
I agree with Tanika.
Right. So it's like, I don't know. That was new. And like I said, back in the day, folks were like, wait a minute, hold up, what? Um, this was an issue. And then you have well, the other thing is, which will be interesting. Um, you always have the attorneys because the attorneys will kind of attorney. They will do what they do. Um, and sometimes they will steer you in different ways. And that would, at least for us, that the attorneys would be part of that communication chain. Like, well, wait a minute, let's see, whatever. Um, yeah. And so I think an attorney weighed in on the actual article and mentioned that if the investigation takes more than 180 days or even 240 days until overpayments were identified after the original deadline could be identified, it could be construed as a knowingly concealed overpayment because, in CMS's opinion, it should have been identified during the 180-day investigation. So they're suggesting that providers in this situation notify the governmental contractor that the investigation is ongoing and note that overpayments will continue to be reported and returned upon identification. So again, it's different. It's different. And just making sure that folks are now aware.
Mhm.
She said, medical practices have to first look for overpayment. If they're not looking, it won't get reported. All righty. Oh, Roxanne's question. I was doing some research on AI and health. A course for AI coding popped up. Is that a valid certification? I've never heard of an AI coding course.
Me either,
Was
and I've
it
never,
from a reputable organization? I don't know. Where did it come from?
and I definitely haven't heard of a certification.
Uh-uh, not at all. I think didn't Ahima do something just talking about AI or getting you to understand AI and healthcare, that kind of thing. I think there was
AAPC,
something broad, but it wasn't nothing specific. I don't think it was anything specific to coding.
AAPC had a free course.
AAPC. Okay, I'm sorry. I put it on HEMA. My bad. AAPC had one. I remember one of them had one just to talk about or talk through
Right.
how AI is being used. She said Tanika said the house makes the rule for everyone else to play by, and the house always wins. Always,
Facts.
always. Yeah, Crafty Coder says the APC has a free one now. Yeah. I don't know. But folks are put on notice from CMS that you got 60 days to do what you got to do and repay that money. Identify, report, and return any overpayments. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about was AI roles in Medicare audits. And this particular article came from Nicole Emanuel. She's an attorney with the RAC Monitor. And yeah, this was very interesting to me because we've talked about coding or AI, I'm sorry, AI from the coder's perspective or from the organization's perspective. This is now letting you know that the government is also instrumental in using AI to assist them in their audits, and they are exploring how this can help with Medicare audits. Exploring is a loose term because I believe it's already actually out there. They're using some forms of it. So their AI systems are designed to analyze billing patterns faster than ever before, identify unusual claim patterns automatically, flag potential documentation gaps, cross-reference services across providers. That's funny to me because that has been on the radar for years. That was why the MACs were created, so they can see both sides of the house, particularly if there was a provider involved with a hospital care. You can see who did what and make comparisons to the coding and billing. Flag potential documentation gaps. Cross-reference services across providers, detect coding irregularities in real time. Also, there's a telehealth focus. Telehealth is alive and well, and out here in these streets, telehealth documentation can also be under intense scrutiny by AI auditors. And so basically you would need to make sure there's detailed patient histories for every virtual visit, clear documentation of time spent, specific clinical observations, treatment plan documentation, evidence of proper technology or use of technology, patient consent records. The high costs of services are also under AI attack. And so they will be focused particularly on high dollar claims, such as complex surgical procedures, extended hospital stays, specialty treatments, advanced diagnostic tests. The AI system will also look for medical necessity documentation, proper procedure coding, patient history alignment, and treatment protocol compliance. Now, the very first thing that struck me when I was reading this article was the documentation burden of providers. It's like, if you think you got a documentation burden now, what you gonna do? Harpo, what you gonna do? Because it's clearly stating that you gotta follow these rules. And all of these rules are based on your documentation. All of this stuff is based on whether or not you're getting flagged or whether or not something is found awry. It's based on the documentation. And so if you're not documenting, if your providers are not providing the optimal documentation to support these complex surgical procedures or extended hospital stays or all of the things, then what? Then you're gonna get into this circle of being regularly audited. You're gonna be low hanging fruit, right? Right.
All right, can I jump in?
Yeah, anytime.
Well, we clearly know that AI is here to stay. It's not
Mhm.
going anywhere. But I'm also here to say that it's nowhere near as robust as people would like to think it is. It's really not. And I mean, I've seen it. I've worked with it. And this data is not like nobody really talks about the downstream effects because when something is miscoded, that data gets reported, it gets captured, it gets factored into all these other things that people come out with reports based on incorrect data. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, working inpatient, how much crap gets inaccurately coded and submitted. Now, I don't know about the back end with denials and all that, but I know when it
Mhm.
goes out the door, it's not right.
Mhm.
And that information gets bundled into all these reports and they come up with this and come up with that and they have AI all up and through and
Mhm.
it's nowhere near as accurate as people think and but people are really putting their hats on it like they really are like they swear by it but there I'm not saying that you cannot use it as a tool but I just think that there's too much and there's becoming too much of a reliance on it exclusively and it's going to come back to bite.
Well, I think from again this perspective of CMS using AI because they get tons and tons of data, all of the billing data, all of that information for uh, Medicare, Medicaid beneficiaries and services. And so this provides a way for the tool to quickly go through all of that data and find if they're setting that AI tool up to find anomalies or to find um, uh, issues, then this provides an opportunity for, instead of your auditor going through volumes and volumes and volumes, you have this tool that's going through volumes and volumes. But then it would still rely on the person or someone behind to kind of validate and make sure that, what it spit out is accurate or what it spit out is valid enough for them to say, okay, move this to the next step. I don't see it being something where they would, at least I would hope not, automatically just take whatever AI spins out at its word. We all know that there should be some validation behind all of it, right? And I think um, this isn't any different, but it's a way. I think it's a way that allows the CMS auditors and the CMS folks to do their job a little quicker. So, and with a quicker turnaround. And so from that perspective, um, because folks have always talked about, even with your commercial payers, we're getting all of these requests for documentation. We're getting all of this. I see this being more and more and more just because now they have a tool that can easily find um, things that may not be right or may not be appropriate documentation wise or just from the billing. So if they're just scrubbing all of the claims and they're noticing, okay, there's a pattern here. Let's look deeper for the pattern. They can do that quicker. Hey, we see this doctor or this facility, they're doing this, they're doing that. Let's go back and look. We got, again, they have all this data. All the data comes through them. So they have all this data that they can now easily just put in some prompts to get their AI systems to drill down that will assist them to say, okay, hey, we may have an issue here, we may have a problem. Let's ask for some documentation now. Let's validate this. Let's make sure, you know, it is what it is, if you will. I think that they're just using. I think they're just using this to kind of help expedite and speed up what they already do.
But that's exactly my point, because yes, they do. Yes, they can scrub claims data, but that's my whole premise. My whole premise is the claims data that is being submitted based on AI is already flawed. So if that's already flawed, and then they run an AI system to check the flawed system, then it's all going to be flawed, and then it's still
But
going to
that's
have.
why they then ask for the documentation to
Okay, but that's what they
validate.
do now. That's what they do now.
Right. So now it's just gonna come quicker and more often, potentially.
We'll see. We'll see. I just,
Potentially.
but I mean, I just think that there's too much of a reliance on AI because the actual skill of coding is being lost. People don't know how to code anymore. That's really just what it is.
Well, I think a lot of folks lost coding even before AI. I mean, with that computer assisted coding, people thought, oh, they were doing something.
Well, that's
And
what that's AI.
yeah,
Computer
I
assisted
think
coding.
the advent of that kind of changed things. So people don't understand. You still need to check. You still need to validate. Oh yeah, and that was my other piece too as well. Tanika, wait a minute, I can't get to you. Okay, here we go. That they're about to be overwhelmed. It's about to be a whole mess. Because again, you need to consider it's all about their documentation. Vicky says AI is supposed to learn and get smarter with use. And I think that
But
happens as well. So the more they use it, the more they add it strengthens kind of the prompt, or it strengthens whatever it is that they're looking for. But you also have to keep in mind that there still could be biases that were already put into the programming of whatever it is that they're looking for. And so that too can trickle down into it getting better, quote unquote. Y'all see, I got air quotes,
but you
better
can
and better.
it all any system only gets better with better information, and better information in this instance is accurate. And if the coding does not get any better, no AI model is going to improve the efficacy or accuracy. It can't. It
Well,
has to
and you
be.
got to think of, go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The information has to be put in accurately for it to get better. I mean, because I'm not saying that you can't use AI at all, but there is such a reliance on all levels on AI. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about not using it as a tool, but I'm talking about reliance. Everybody's like, oh well, I used AI and it said this. Okay, but is it right? It doesn't matter what it says. Is it right? And in a lot of instances, it's not right. And I can tell you, I have worked with people who cannot code to save their lives, but they're out here assigning DRGs and reconciling cases all day long.
And that's crazy.
Exactly.
That's crazy. I'm with you on that. Yeah, they're but it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. Like I
Oh, it's
told
not.
y'all, when
It's
I
not.
went to the few conferences, AI was all the buzz. And so you had all of these vendors that are here for healthcare organizations saying, oh, we have the perfect product that will help you get your bills out. We have the perfect product that will help you comb through denials. We have the perfect product that will help you get the optimal productivity of coding and billing out the door. We have the perfect. I mean, they're selling this stuff everywhere, over and over and over. So I don't know.
So
Yeah, I don't
Roxanne
see
has
it.
a question.
Okay. I was trying to find the additional stuff that I had on that. But yes. So our question is, can there be more internal auditing done before submitting to CMS? There should be.
There you go.
Always.
There you go.
There
That's the
should
key.
be.
It should be.
But unfortunately, and we all know, your productivity standards, your mandates that things need to hit the door, out the door in 3 days or 48 hours or whatever foolishness they come up with on a regular basis, kind of deters that. But you should have inpatient, or not inpatient, just auditing period. You should, in all of the inpatient facility, outpatient facility, and provider offices. Someone should be looking at this documentation, because how are you going to know what's happening until you get the denial or until you get whatever? There should be some pre-work. Somebody should be checking. Somebody should be doing that. Does everybody do it? Nope. Can everybody do it? They should.
They can. They just don't want to.
They may not want to know, because they may then it then provides a kink in their system, because if their system is to go, well, now you got to have some pull off to the side. It's like when you go to the airport, like the bags go, but then every now and again you're gonna get a bag that gets pulled over and they're gonna have to look at, even though nothing was really seen or nothing was whatever, they just got to check. There should be some sort of process where they're checking as well. That's a quality check all day. But again, I'm thinking about the whole physician piece, and you know, I think there are kind of solutions for them. They talk about how that they have to spend 2 to 3 hours on documentation for every hour of patient care. That's a factoid, if you will, that has been thrown around. And then, the different documentation requirements from different payers. Again, me personally, I never thought that the provider should be involved in what payers, what's what. If there's something that is specific, like say a patient needs some type of device or a patient needs whatever, and then there's some additional paperwork and additional things that have to happen, I get it for that. But just your everyday stuff, because then now you're adding additional things onto the provider, because now they have to think about, oh, this is Medicare, and they want their documentation to look like da 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 da, or this is Humana, and they want their documentation to look like da 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 da. That should never be a burden on the provider. They should just be documenting what they do with that patient and how that patient presents and all of those things.
But
what that surgery entailed, what that whatever.
right, but the reason for that, I totally agree. But the reason for that is we have private insurance, and all these people have individual contracts with individual people who have individual criteria. That's just like sepsis. There is no national sepsis standard. It would make sense that it should be. A lot of this could be standardized to make it easier, but they don't, like, and not everybody uses SIRS criteria. Some people use Q SOFA, some people use SOFA 3. So it depends on what your payers. So if your payer, if you have all these different payers, then you have to document differently. That's just a fact of the game. I mean, there's no
But
way to get
shouldn't you just be documenting what you're seeing, what you're observing, what you're all of the things that you're
no,
doing?
because they have different, because they have different elements. Like, yes, but because if somebody has a, a low blood pressure and they're
Mhm.
they're hypotensive, If
Mhm.
that's not part of the criteria, then why would you? Yes, ideally they should, but I can see why that
Mhm.
would really that would affect the amount of time they have to document. They have to document everything, and I'm not saying that's
Mhm.
not a bad thing, but they really don't have time to document everything on every one of their patients that they see because they see too many. I mean, I'm I'm always clowning them on their compassion and sacrifice, but it's I, documentation is out of control because there needs to be more standardized criteria across the board.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that that would really, really help. And I don't see that coming anytime soon either. But I just don't know. And I don't really understand. Like, there's not enough. I've never been anywhere in all my 10 years where I've seen documentation improve. I haven't. Documentation is still just as bad today as it was when I started in 2014. It's no improvement. You still have to send
You could just
queries for
read
the
it better.
exact same thing all the time. Like, it just doesn't. And it's just it's just a vicious cycle. And then everybody wants to pass the buck, and they think that AI is going to come in and save the day, but it's not. It's only going to
Yeah,
add
I
more ish to the game.
true. Because again, I think they're going to see more things and find more things, which will just turn this cycle into a vicious cycle that is, to Tanika's point, is going to slam these providers. But again, at some point, you have to take ownership and make sure that you're documenting correctly. So when folks tell you, sir, ma'am, this is what's needed in this documentation, this somebody somewhere has told a lot of these providers about they jacked up documentation.
Of
Somebody
course.
somewhere. And they have chosen to ignore, refuse to believe, all of the things. And now here we are again. And so because you provider choose to not listen to the people who are trying to assist you with your documentation practices, it's only going to get worse for you. It's only going to get worse. And so you think you're overwhelmed now? If you think you're overwhelmed now.
Because to me, the thing I don't understand is I think the easiest people to document for, in my honest opinion, is the government. I think commercial payers are ridiculous, but
They are
I
off the chain. But
right,
CMS,
but
they tell you what it
they
is they
they
want to
do,
see.
they
They
do,
spell
they
it
do.
out
It's
everywhere.
very,
And
it's
so when
very.
people are coming to you, oftentimes, even though nobody is really going through each individual commercial payer, they will use CMS as the standards because oftentimes CMS, well, it varies now, but back in the day, CMS was usually the strictest. And so they would make sure that they're meeting whatever the stricter CMS documentation requirements were for procedures, for E&M, for all of the things. And for whatever reason, they feel like they can
Right,
copy, cut, and paste their way through to
right.
everything and all of the things. And
Because
yeah.
now when I was coming to the doctor's defense, it was not like Medicare, Medicaid is cut and dry. It is that they will tell you exactly what they're looking for any day of the week, any time of the day. But it's the commercial people that even working inpatient CDI, like commercial payers are ridiculous. It's just like, come on now. But with Medicare and Medicaid, there's no compassion and sacrifice on them because they make it very clear, and people teach
Mm-hmm.
them according to CMS. Most providers learn
Mm-hmm.
documentation for CMS, and
Mm-hmm.
all you have to
And
do is
rightfully
just
so.
do what these people tell you, like, and just learn what we're asking. Like, you should have a clue. Like, I should not have to. And then they get bogged down because there are nuances in care. Not every case is the same, and it's not going to be the same, and there's subtleties. But at the end of the day, you have to document what you saw as clearly as
Mm-hmm.
possible. So the coders can come in and do what they do. Everybody else can come do what they do and send a nice clean claim to these government people so they'll pay you and stay off your back. Now, will
And
that
you get to
does
keep the
I
money that you received.
yes, I haven't seen that happen. And because there has to be a mindset shift, not with providers, but with these CMOs, these chief medical officers. That's where it has to come. Because most CMOs are not 30. They are late 50s on up, and they are stuck in their ways and cantankerous. And I know because I just had an interview with one last week. I think I might have. I think I might have shared with y'all. Like, you know, they want, and it was a Medicare Advantage plan. They really want coders to do their job. Did I tell y'all? Or no, we didn't meet
Mm-mm,
last week.
mm-mm.
So
We
he's going
did, you
on.
did.
Oh, oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. So he goes through this whole song and dance about how they want somebody, because it was for a lead CDI position, how they want somebody to come in and work with the coders. So when they are doing a review, if they look and see that this person has a low EGFR and they're also diabetic, that they will code diabetic chronic kidney disease. And I'm like, sir, that's fraud.
Uh-huh.
And he looked at me like, what? I'm like, no. How can a coder assign CKD? Like, what level? That's a diagnosis. Coders cannot code from diagnostic
Diagnosed
radiology
the
or
patient.
labs. Needless to say, I got my rejection email a couple days ago. Oh, because then
I
he
don't
also
know.
asked.
Go ahead.
Then he also asked me, well, what would I? What was how would I what how would I handle wonky, or no? He said sticky providers, like people who want to do it a certain way. I said either your organization wants to make you keep money or it doesn't. That's really all. It's just that simple. It could all be so simple,
It
and that's
be
what it
so
is.
simple. Really?
So
Absolutely.
I was just too straightforward. Because see, first of all, what I'm not walking into a headache. I'm not, and I'm not fighting anybody. Because what I am going to do this time is that I've said it before. If I go on another job and stuff ain't right, I'm becoming a whistleblower because I want to retire. I'm sick of these people. Y'all don't want to do it. I'm going to screenshot and capture everything I can, and I'm going to turn you in and wait about a good 2 years for my money.
It's ridiculous. And I remember, having these conversations, not necessarily with the CEOs, but having conversations with providers who, at one point, and I think this is still a sentiment that has been passed down from probably some of the more seasoned providers down through the newer ones. You know, the government is out to get us. We have to play this dance. We have to, and while it may feel that way, and perception is everything for most people, um really it's about doing your job. Part of the job that you do as a provider is documentation, period. That is part of the job. um Unfortunately, in today's healthcare uh, realm, you have added, especially as these providers are being employed by these health systems, you are now you gambled. Your gamble was, I can't continue my practice, or we can't continue our practice at this scale, because at one point in time it was because electronic medical records were needed. You had to have an electronic medical record system. You had to have all of those things. And y'all just didn't make enough money to be able to do that. So the trade-off was, or the gamble was, let me go ahead and sign up with this system who is giving me this base salary and or bonuses for work RVUs that I provide to them, da 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 da. But the trade-off was, but now you have to see X amount of patients. You have to have the documentation for X number amount of patients. There's things that you have to do where in your own practice, you can kind of leisurely do things the way in which you wanted to do them. When you join on into these, because you are an employed provider, when you become an employed provider, now someone else is kind of calling your shots, and you have to meet these level of productivity, or you don't get to stay with the organization, or you don't get the bonuses or the money that you are accustomed to, and or you don't get the leisure time that you were also accustomed to. I remember physicians would be in for 5 hours a day, maybe. um you know, depending on the specialty. That these people working. They working 10 hours. They working a shift for real in some cases. Because they're trying to meet these levels of productivity that they gambled with. So I gambled away my control to now work under someone else. And true enough, you have given up like the headache of managing all of that and all of those things, but at what cost? And so because you chose and decided to do that for whatever reason, you also know that there is a game that's you now have to play to be successful in that. And buckle up, Buttercup. That includes making sure that you're documenting appropriately, because they're going to be on you. Hence your CDI programs, hence your health information management programs. Hence somebody is going to be tapping on you to say, hey, sir, ma'am, could you look at this documentation? Can you see, this, we see some things here. Let's talk about your documentation. And you have to be open to that, because this is what these people do. We look and see what all that needs to be in your documentation. They're there to help. Let them help you.
But I really think that that's the key. I really think that they see too many people, because there's no way, if you're only allotted 20 minutes, 15 minutes to a half an hour for a visit, there's no way, unless the provider is documented in real time. And I even thought that scribes would help, but it doesn't. They don't. I just don't think there's enough time, because if that doctor sees 20 patients, at the end of the day, when he or she are doing their notes, there's no way they can remember everything about all 20 of those visits. There's no way. And I think that really leads to the poor documentation. And I know, like, even with op notes, like I realized that on Thursday I had an outpatient procedure. I mean, they were rolling people in and out, like literally, like it was like a daggone soup line to get to the OR. There's no way in the world, unless that doctor or surgeon is dictating while they are doing it, there's no way that you can remember every detail when you have to go to type up your op note. There's no way. So the whole model is flawed. Something has to change, because it's not getting any better. It's not.
No.
And I'm not saying,
But at the
and
end,
it's not, and I'm not saying people aren't getting good care, but it's not being documented properly.
correct. And unfortunately, that trickles down to some of the patients, because then services that they have been provided, or procedures that they may need and want, they can't get because there is no documentation to support it. And then, depending on your insurance, they may be looking at you to now pay the balance, pay the bill. And that's unfortunate. So, as we've always said, really a lot of this comes down to the documentation. And at some point, you would think that there would be some kind of course, class, something in proper documentation for these providers. And most of them don't have it, didn't get it. Maybe they missed that day. I don't know.
I don't know either. I think they just see too many people. I just really think that's what
And
it's a
you may
numbers.
be right about that. You may be right about that. But so let's think back before EHRs, because EHR was touted as the end all be all best thing since sliced bread. But a lot of the things, and I'm going to talk about like outpatient encounters for a moment. So oftentimes there's now a expectation, and I want to say a requirement, but I'm not 100% sure that it's actually a requirement, but it's an expectation. I still think it might be a requirement. But anyway, so after that patient visit, that patient gets a summary, an encounter. So somebody has to document and put all of this information in or whatever for that patient after that encounter, so that patient can now receive either, you know, a printout of it or have it in their electronic medical record portal that they have access to. So again, you not only do you have to hurry up, see the patient. That's why it's probably a big burden when patients come in. They're scheduled, and that's why they ask all the questions. Why are you here? What are you going to do? And then when they come in and be like, oh yeah, we got this, but can I tell you about so and so and so? And it'd be like, oh my God, because now everything is thrown off because they done slid you in this 7-minute spot. And now you taking 20 minutes. Well, you done messed up the whole thing for everybody else. And you got to also factor in the documentation that is required for the old and new. And it's a lot. I think, you know, I think there needs to be some, to your point, some realistic management of the supply chain. Like how many patients coming in, what, you know, I think that, but then you also think about from the patient perspective, well, if they only seeing so many patients a day, it's going to take me 6 months to even get in to see them again. It's a mess. It's a mess. There needs to be like just a top to bottom look and overhaul of the whole
Oh,
system.
I totally agree because it's not. I mean, it's not working. And Tanika has a comment, and Tanika, they didn't document it because he probably didn't remember.
She says, had a surgeon to excise scar tissue and document size perfectly, did a complex closure and didn't tell me the size of the closure. Yeah. Did you go back and ask them, query them about the size of the closure? And so again, that requires someone to go back and say, hey, we need this information is needed for the procedure that you perform. Is AI going to do that for them? Maybe it will. Maybe they can put something together that'll ping them, ding, 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 you need set us up, whatever. But again, if you didn't document it, how would you remember? Oh, but I was talking about before electronic medical records. You know, physicians used to walk around with their little pads and they would be documenting all the little things. And eventually they would pull together a nice, clean note of some sort. But they would have the little notations or whatever. They don't do that anymore.
See, I used to think. Well, if my honest opinion is, I really feel like notes back in the day were better. They were just hard as hell to read
Mm-hmm.
when they were paper. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you just couldn't make any. I'm like, what in the heck is this? It was a lot of information, but I'm like, I can't understand half of it. And now, because I really thought that EHRs and the EMRs were going to really, it's just caused another problem. That's all.
Mm-hmm. It is. I don't know. All the things that we have to think about. All the things in the wonderful
And
world.
see,
Oh Lord. See, so you're adding to that burden. No, I'm kidding. I queried and she referenced the sizes of the excised tissue. I had to do a second query. Oh Lord. All of the things. So yeah. This is just kind of giving you more information, more things that are coming down the pike from CMS's perspective, talking a little bit about the final rule from the physician fee schedule. Again, that 3,000-page document. If you have nothing better to do in your life, maybe get AI to read it for you, tell you what's all in it. um, as well as how CMS will be, if not already, using AI to assist in their auditing endeavors. Well, probably going to do even more with the way they cutting positions at the government, but that's neither here nor there. I'll say.
Because I tell you, these people right about now, look, they love their large language models. That slays me.
They do. They do. They do.
Everything is the
And
latest.
unfortunately, everything is what? I'm sorry.
Everything is the latest and greatest until it's not.
Until it's not. Until it's not. Until the next thing comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be here for it all.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing the information about it with you.
And certified.
That's right. That's right. Because then you can walk away and think about, well, what can I do? Or what is it that I see that can potentially help? You know, this may be an entrepreneurial endeavor. Hey, how can I assist XYZ provider, or how can I assist this organization in doing da 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 da?
Now, I'm not even sure how I think what could make AI, especially in healthcare, better is I just think that they need to hire more coders to help them in their developmental stages. I really think that's the missing piece. I really do. Because, nobody has respect for coders, They're these, people that are off in the corner somewhere.
Well, they're home now, but
well, yeah, no, it's just it's the most overlooked, but it's the most impactful at the same time. Because what can you? Because the HIPAA, you have to have codes have to be used to submit electronic claims. That's the law. So if that's it. That's the most important thing. Like that in the documentation, because it's supposed to mirror each other, but it doesn't. Anyway,
yep,
we're over time. I don't want to.
We
Let me
are
get
at
off
the
my
top of the
soapbox.
hour. We are at the top of the hour. All right. So, thirsty for fresh perspectives on the healthcare revenue cycle? By becoming one of the PRNT sippers, you'll join a community of sharp minds who savor the complexities of the healthcare revenue cycle. Why sip alone when you can steep in knowledge together? Come, let's spill the tea on industry insights, shall we? Here's what you can expect as a valued member of the PRNT Sippers. Exclusive healthcare insights, gain access to in-depth articles, webinars, and resources covering the latest healthcare trends, compliance updates, and revenue cycle best practices. Early access. Be the first to receive expert insights and guides, ensuring you stay ahead in the ever-evolving healthcare industry. Personalized support. Enjoy direct access to our team of experts for guidance on medical coding, compliance issues, and revenue cycle management. We're here to answer your questions and support your professional growth. And my personal favorite, community connection. Join a private community of healthcare professionals where you can network, share experiences, and collaborate on finding solutions to common challenges. So by supporting us, you're not only advancing your healthcare knowledge and career, but also contributing to the success of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, a resource that empowers healthcare professionals like you to thrive in their roles, goals, and dreams. So thank you in advance for considering becoming a member of the PRNT Sippers. And for the cost of, 2 cups of tea, you can join the community. Check out the link in the description of the video. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to helping you excel in the world of health information and healthcare revenue cycle. All right. Well, thank you all again for joining the Saturday morning tea or checking out the replay. I need to ask, was the tea spilled today? Put your tea cups in the chat. Was it spilled today? Was it spilled today? One way or the other. Did you learn something today? Now, before we sign off, I've got a special request for all you amazing viewers out there. If you found this episode helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share the knowledge with your colleagues by hitting that share button. Help your providers out. Let them know. They got to make sure their documentation is right. And hey, why not subscribe to our channel while you're at it? That way, you'll never miss a drop of our health information, compliance, revenue cycle, and medical coding tea. Got thoughts or questions or experiences you want to share about today's topic? We'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below and let's keep this conversation brewing. And if you enjoyed this episode, give us a thumbs up. It helps more healthcare professionals find our content. Also, check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube. Remember, at the Saturday Morning Tea, we're all about building a community of savvy, informed healthcare professionals. So like, share, subscribe, and comment, and let's grow this community together. Mr. Jesse, any closing thoughts?
No, AI is the devil.
That will be the next topic.
Yeah. No, I always say I'm just grateful for this platform and these discussions because somebody has to have them.
Somebody got to bring them up and talk about them. Right. And why not us, right? Right. Keeping you informed as you, oh, look at all the teacups. Yay. Keeping you informed about what is happening. And again, the why. All of this information shows you as a health information professional why you have to do the things that you have to do, why it's important that you do the things that you have to do. So yeah, just glad to be able to provide that information. So this was a great session today. Remember, I have a funeral today, so there will be no meeting after the meeting. I may reach out to y'all and we may pop up and do something on Patreon as my co-hosts are available. We'll see what we can do. Maybe sometime this weekend. I'll reach out to them and then I'll let everybody on Patreon know if that's going to happen. But anyway, hope everything is going well with you. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Be safe. Remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.